Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman. This is May 22nd. You'll be watching it on the same day or later. Episode 341. We just keep trucking along. And we've got some rapid-fire news for you. We're going to take a look at what's the other side of all the massive profits for games during this coronavirus stuff. And then we're going to take a look at Crucible. We'll be doing our first look review like we normally do. However, the first look is not up yet. We'll talk to Jason about that too. That should be up shortly. We'll also have one up for Shadow Arena in the next few days. It's just, there's a lot of first looks coming. We do all the streaming. There's just a lot going on at MMO Bomb right now. We hope you'll join us for all of it. Joining me to talk about the news, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
This will be our 0.5 look.
Yeah.
0.5, there you go.
The 0.5. We'll do the review today, because I think we both have solid opinions about it. We've played it for a while, but we'll... Monday, I guess? I mean, does that work?
Monday-ish, because I think Monday's Memorial Day. So
is Monday Tuesday. Memorial Day? Tuesday? Yeah. All right, and we'll have Shadow Arena. I'll be doing that one. I gave Jason the choice, knowing full well he was going to take Crucible.
I don't have to download and play another game. I already have Crucible, so yeah.
And I'll tell you a little bit about Shadow Arena when we get to the Crucible chat too, because yeah, I've had some fun with that. I wanted to put that first look up today. It's not going to be up till early next week either. And that's fine. They need a little bit of time. Also on the line, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
I guess if, my internet does weird shit, so.
Okay. I'm not sure if I heard all of that sentence or not.
Enough. We heard enough.
It really is it doing the
It cuts out. It cuts out like right at the tail end of sentences. I don't know. So we'll work with it. If it gets worse, we'll figure something out. We'll mute Q and have her just make mime noises and faces.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Get some flags.
I find some paper and I'll signs.
Yeah, just do your signs again. All right, let's slide over and get started with the news. I should mention, next week's show, we'll be recording Wednesday night, and then putting it up Thursday for all of you. Zach Sharps will be on that episode. And then the following week should be Troy. So Jason and Q will each get a week off over the next 2 weeks here. We'll have Zach next week and Troy the following week. And maybe some other hosts. I've been working some angles, and there's a few people that some MMO bombers would like to come back and make a guest appearance here and there. So while they won't be anywhere near like monthly or anything like that, we are probably like 55-ish, 60%-ish gonna make that happen for you. So let's get started and take a look at some rapid fire news, some smaller news this week, but interesting nonetheless. Let's start off with Bless Unleashed. Oh God. Some of you may remember a few weeks back, there was an exploit in their cash shop. They had to close things down on that front for a little bit. This was like maybe a month and a half ago, not a few weeks. They banned some accounts, but they didn't really ban accounts. It just happened to be that was the only error message that they had in their game for when they froze an account. So they froze a bunch of accounts, which led to a bunch of people getting messages when they tried to log in saying that their accounts were banned. They had to scramble and say, look, not all of these are banned. It's just the only message we had in there when we freeze accounts. Whatever. We're going through this to make sure, hey, Jason, you didn't exploit the system, so unfreeze your account. That was a month and a half or so ago, and there was compensation that went out for that. Well, that happened again for different reasons this week. This time it was an exploit involving estates that led to a pretty big ban wave. 350 accounts literally got the boot. But, Jason, all was not as it seemed, pretty much just like the first time this happened.
Yeah, well, they said that last night was temporarily suspended around 350 accounts after an investigation of server logs led to an exploit with the estate system. However, As we continued to work through the night and saw an alarming amount of our community asking why their accounts were temporarily suspended, it came to light that innocent accounts had been included in our temporary suspension due to human error in the investigation process.
Well, okay, wait. That happens though, right, Q? Like, hey, there's an exploit. We freeze/ban a bunch of accounts. We start going through it, and we find a small percentage of them. You got caught up in the crossfire. Sorry about that. Here's some compensation. Right? That happens. A couple accounts here and there. That doesn't seem too odd to me, right?
In general, it's not. It is something that has happened before many times, not just in games, but forums and everything. So it's a thing that just kind of happens sometimes.
Yeah, all right. So, Jason, what the hell's the big deal? Couple accounts, yeah, they're upset. They have a right to be. A few, right? They banned 350. I'm sure this was just a few.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they only have like 500 players. Who knows?
Well, no, I'm talking about out of that 350, I'm sure there were just, a couple that were erroneously banned, right?
Okay, I see what you're saying. No, they said that after a more in-depth investigation, we narrowed the amount of exploiters to around 50 players. So apparently 300 of them were banned unjustifiably.
Right. So 1 in 7 bans was valid. Not look at Q checking my math. I see that. I see your eyeballs checking my math.
No, trust me. I'm not checking your math. I'm shit at math. So I'm not checking anybody's math.
I saw the eyes go
I'm an artist.
Like she was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, it's 1, 7, 1 in 7.
The only math I'm good at, right? The only math I'm good at involves music. So.
And the doctors. You can tell the difference between the 9th Doctor and the 12th Doctor. There you go.
Well, time travel, but...
This is, in their own words, absolutely inexcusable. And that is their own words from NeoWiz and Round 8 Studios. They realized their absolutely inexcusable error and restored all but 50 of the accounts. So, yeah, not so hot on the Bless Unleashed front. And this is in the midst of what I would say one of the more unreliable servers for a bigger MMO that's out there, as far as the scale of the creation of the game, not necessarily the player base. But, resource-wise, it is a modern engine, a graphically good game, stuff like that. Say what you will about the player size. It is an expensive endeavor, what they did here, and their servers are just horribly unreliable. Check out their Twitter. You'll constantly see it's going down 15 minutes. Okay, we need another half hour. Okay, we need another hour. Okay, we need another hour. And it happens like sporadically all the time. I actually have stopped playing this game, Jason, since our streams. I've just enjoying other games on our stream too much to invest any more real time into it. I got to, I think, mid-20s or so, and so I did not make it to the end game content. It's just, maybe I'll pick it back up. I didn't uninstall it from my Xbox. It's still there. Maybe I'll pick it up. But all is not lost, right? There is going to be some compensation for this, right?
Yeah, for the people who got their accounts banned or whatever, for those, they are going to get 10 sealed chest keys and 200,000 star seed, which I guess is a lot, but
not really. But
no,
what they're
like one bag space.
No, what they're what they're trying to do there, I think, with the 200,000 is offset the daily conversion that you could have done from gold to star seeds. Since you weren't able to actually log in and convert gold because you can do it a limited number of times per day. That's not a whole lot of star seed. It is a sizable chunk, but 200,000 will go very, very quickly, particularly for anybody at endgame in Bless Unleashed that is upgrading gear or trying to enhance their gear. So +2, +3, whatever. 200,000 is going to go like that.
That makes the other compensation seem really crappy.
Yeah.
The other compensation is for everybody, but as long as the states are down every day, there's 2 sealed chest keys, a XP boost, a repair tool, 300 artifact cores, and 1,000 star seeds. If 200,000 isn't much, what does 1,000 get you?
Yeah, 1,000 gets you almost nothing. Literally, it gets you nothing. However, again, this one I can kind of see because since it's related to, these gifts are tied to every day that the estate system is disabled because they've shut that down. There is a tremendously large portion of the player base that probably doesn't even know what the estate system is, let alone use it yet. So this is just kind of a little, and it says all players are getting these.
Yeah. And actually, it looks like the estate's reopened on Tuesday.
Yeah, so you got a couple of days of the bonuses. So I mean, that's a nice little bonus. If people are involved in estates, you're right. It's kind of a trivial little bonus, but it's something. 1,000 star seeds. Yeah, you're not. Your first conversion of the day gets you more than that, I think. Does it get you 1,000 or does it get you... I think it might get you a little more than 1,000, actually. So, yeah, it's not much on the star seeds. But if you don't have anything to do with the estate system, it's free star seeds and free boosts for you. And that's going to be a bigger portion of the Bless Unleash audience, I think, than the ones actually using the estate system. I don't know. That game just seems a little unreliable. Little unreliable.
Maybe they need more bag space for their servers.
They definitely, yeah, $3 a slot, but they could help those servers out. Q on the more reliable side of things, Respawn Entertainment, the studio behind Titanfall, and of course on the free-to-play front, Apex Legends, they're actually opening an entirely new studio, but this has actually kind of already been happening behind the scenes. It seems like they just found the office space, really, is what happened here.
Well, they've been, out of the regular studio working on Apex Legends, but they've also been slowly building a team internally from EA's offices in Vancouver. Just offices and slowly building it from there. And now they've decided, well, okay, enough of those people, and we're doing so well here that we want to completely we want to also work on Apex Legends. So we're just going to go and actually have our own office in Vancouver and have about 80. So now they're hiring externally to bolster the office and everything. But I mean, it's really nice because it's that Apex Legends has been so surprisingly successful for them that they just kind of needed to do this. And part of the reason they're doing it is because there's so much demand from players and stuff for content and everything, but they don't want to do what companies are doing and overwork their staff to do it. So they're hiring more staff.
Imagine that. Supply and demand, and you don't have to kill your workers. Now, it's very... Jason, I don't know about you. I mean, you're a little more jaded when it comes to the news. It's very all well and good to come out and say that, but it also seems like that could be the type of thing that, hey, we'll just add this to the press release because it sounds good. Like, was that a legitimate factor in the decision making, or is it just a cool byproduct that you're able to say? We'll have to see, right? Because that's something you have to watch going forward. Like, are these employees still overworked and stressed out and crunched and things like that? I don't know. One of the things... Go ahead.
I just want to say is that one thing we've always seen coming from Respawn. I think they did a blog post on this or maybe a Twitter tweet a few while back. One of their top guys saying, we do work like this. We don't overwork our guys. We'd rather have slower content if it means our guys don't get worked to the bone. Yeah. So it seems like they actually do things the right way.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard to argue with their success. Titanfall was very well received, at least initially. It kind of tapered off late because of a limited content pool. Titanfall 2 is an incredible game, underrated. We all know many of us probably know what happened there. That game came out, and EA pushed it right into a release window between Battlefield and Call of Duty, and it didn't have a fucking chance. But underrated game, tremendously good game, and you can usually pick that up for really, really cheap on any console or on PC. And if you were even mildly interested in the original Titanfall, which I owned and played for maybe 2 hours, but I liked some of what was going on there. I bought Titanfall 2 and I played the shit out of that game. So I would absolutely encourage you to check that one out. One of the bad things that I did not like in this interview with GamesIndustry.biz, though, Jason, was we heard the infamous, we want this game to have a 10-year lifespan at least. We want this to be our main shooter in 2021. And I can't recall if I've ever heard this before, that this is going to be our primary game. It'll be around for 10 years, and game is a service. Oh, wait, yeah, I have heard that about a number of other shooters, which are still around but now have sequels, and aren't so much around in the capacity that they were initially. I don't know. Do you want to... If I asked you right now, is Apex Legends still a upper tier? We won't say like where it's at right now, because I'd say it's probably in the top 3 at the moment. But let's say upper tier of free-to-play shooting battle royale games. Are we saying that in
2030?
2030? Yeah, even like 2028.
I think
it makes sense that it'll be their main shooter next year. I mean, unless they release something we don't know about, kind of like the way they released Apex Legends, it makes sense to me that it'll be their main shooter next year. But with the whole 10-year lifespan, and let's take 2 years away because it hasn't been out for 2 years, but let's make the numbers nice and round. Are we still talking about Apex Legends in 2028?
Every game has to say that. They have to say we're going to be around forever, because if you don't, then people are going to be like, well, you're only going to be here for a year, so we're just going to not bother with you and move on. So they all have to say it and give that impression. I think, though, that very, very few games can really retain an audience that long.
Yeah.
Eventually, they just get a little old. They get a little,
long in the tooth.
Long in the tooth, just run-of-the-mill sort of thing. And you're just looking for that new thing. If you've played Apex Legends, or if you played, let's say even Fortnite, it's only been out for about 3 years, and obviously still doing great, but some people played that and decided to move on to the next thing. Overwatch is a great example. That's something that a lot of people are now... I follow Overwatch League, and a lot of players are actually just leaving that to go play Valorant or whatever, so... Because that's the new hotness now, whereas Valorant going to be in 3 or 4 years, that's going to be replaced by the next thing, and so on and so forth, so... Trying to say that you're still going to be around in 10 years, still be a big deal. You might still be around. Like, I think Overwatch or its sequels, or obviously you look at other games like World of Warcraft have stuck around for a long time, and PlanetSide 2 is 8 years old if you want to look at, a shooter type game. It's not as big as it once was maybe, but it's still around. So yeah, I think Apex Legends, I think we'll be talking about it maybe in 2030, or maybe talking about Apex Legends 2 or whatever. But to think that it's going to be a top tier title, just something you can't really predict.
I think I can. I'm going to go with no.
So you're saying no, it's going to be gone completely? Or,
no, I don't think it'll be gone.
Really tiny, low tier, like PlanetSide or something?
See, but that's the thing. Like, these types of games, though, when they get too little, they just go away. Or they just get replaced with Apex Legends 2 and Apex Legends 3. So, will we still be talking about the Apex Legends IP? I think there's a pretty decent chance. Like... We obviously don't talk about Destiny, but we still talk about the Destiny IP in the form of Destiny 2 and presumably at some point of Destiny 3.
Speaking of plans, we were supposed to be on Destiny 4 by now.
Right.
A new game every 2 years.
Right, that was the 10-year thing that I was referencing earlier. So I think that's possible that we could still be talking about the Apex Legends IP. As far as talking about this, I don't think so. I think people have already stolen a lot of things that Apex Legends kind of brought to the table in Battle Royale, and granted, most of it they brought from other games. It wasn't things they created, but we've seen Fortnite, we've seen all these other games kind of snag those pieces that everybody liked, and so now Apex Legends doesn't have that unique thing anymore. In the way that the respawns are done or things like that. So they have to iterate. Will we still be talking about the Apex Legends IP? Probably. I mean, it is EA. They like to shove things down our throat for as long as possible. But I don't think we'll be talking about Apex Legends, this particular game, 10 years from now. I think that's just silly. Q, what do you think?
I think it would be the IP thing. If for no other reason, then it's just easier after, like 2 or 3 years or whatever, just to put out a new game than it is to try to keep an older game up with whatever is going on tech-wise. Yep. So in that sense, I mean, that's probably reason where, we'll be getting an Overwatch 2, although they've done that connectivity thing or what, so you don't lose all your Overwatch stuff. But it's way easier to make a new game that actually just works on the new hardware and software than it is to try to change the code in something that's old.
I agree. All right, let's slide on here to Path of Exile. I thought this was kind of a neat little piece. Now, this really doesn't have much to do with the game or anything. I did send Jason something to take a look at and maybe write up today on something they talked about that's more game-related. But this is... They published a list of their most popular microtransactions, and I think this is really cool. I wish more companies did this type of thing. And to be clear, they put these in the order of the number purchased, right? So if it's a $2 item but 3 people bought it, or it's a $50 item that 1 person bought, obviously they made more off of that $50 one-time purchase than they did off of 3 $2 transactions. But for the purposes of the list, they ordered it in, hey, we sold 3 of these, 1 of these, from top to bottom. So it wasn't like a financial thing. It was just, what do you guys and gals buy the most of in game? Now, if you're not a Path of Exile fan, this probably doesn't mean much to you. But if you, besides maybe you think it's just cool like I do, but if you play the game, you kind of got a nifty sense, Jason, on like how unique are you really in what you buy from the cash shop, which I thought was a pretty cool little flavor spin.
I mean, if you're buying the flaming shoulders or the shiny stuff, you're probably not unique. You probably ought to know that by now because everybody else damn well has it. So, because yeah, that was the most popular thing. The Celestial and Infernal tended to be really popular stuff. So,
yeah, the Infernal armor set was released in 2015. 5 years later, it still has the crown as the most bought armor set.
Some of that makes sense. If it's old, it's been around for a while, and people have had more time to buy it, so a lot more people have bought it. So.
True, but when it's old, there's been a lot of new shinies released after it that you would think, if they were cool enough, would have pulled attention away from old shinies.
It's like they shot their load early on and haven't made anything else interesting yet since, rather.
I'm pretty sure that's the way they worded it in the board meeting, too, Jason.
But with a New Zealand accent.
Q, back attachments, basically anything that had fucking wings sold.
I mean, when I was playing, wings were definitely, the thing that you wanted to spend your money on. So wings are just cool. They don't do anything, but they're cool.
Out of the top 10 back attachments, 8 were wings. With
look awesome.
With one of them being a back attachment, the other one being a back attachment, and one being a hooded cloak. The other 8 were all wings, starting with the Gloom wings and working all the way down to the Seraph Spirit wings.
When I make my own MMO and have microtransactions, no wings. Not gonna be any wings in it.
Q, I wonder what your take is on this, though. I thought this was kind of interesting. As far as portals in the game, the cosmetic portals to open the top sellers have actually been the more tame animations and color splashes, not the huge, big, over-the-top ones. I thought that was kind of interesting, that people like a more subdued portal.
Might just have something to do, too, with the, the ability to make out what's, like, if you've got it, because portals, right, they sit out. Mm-hmm. They sit out there, and if you've got like a lot of action going on, it just kind of makes it harder to see other things. So maybe that's why, like a little more chill just makes it logistically easier to deal with, especially if there's a bunch of portals.
Grinding Gear Games on this one on the portals did say that most of the portals featured in the list, the top 10 here, were released a long time ago, which is probably another reason for high popularity, because back in those days, the players had a limited number of effects you could actually buy. So that list could be skewed a little bit due to time and limited options at the time. Last one I want to talk about here, Jason, is pets. The number one pet was the Weta pet or Weta pet.
Weta. It's based off
Weta?
the guys who did the special effects for Lord of the Rings.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's the bug actually, because that's where people know it from.
And the frog pet, number 2. I'm surprised by that. I'm not saying the frog is bad, but listen to the rest of these options, Q. Celestial cat. Like, even if you don't know anything about Path of Exile, listen to the names. Celestial cat pet, scorpion pet, blue frog pet, sin sword pet, black cat pet, innocent sword pet, blood guardian pigeon, ghost flame swarm. Those are 3 through 10. Number 2, frog pet.
I did a Google search just to see if the frog pet was special or anything, and no, he's just a little frog.
Yeah, it's just a little frog.
So cat pets, right? Every game has cat pets of incredibly different varieties. There's nothing special really about cat pets when it comes down to it.
I don't know. Celestial from the heavens,
pigeon,
glowing blood. The blood pigeon intrigues me. I want to see an image of this, actually. I don't think I've seen this.
I'm watching a video that's got
blood pigeon.
Red frog. There's a basilisk pet too.
Bloodguard pigeon pet. Path of Exile. There's the video. It actually looks like a raven with a little splash of blood around it. That does not.
Oh, there's a royal green frog. It's a frog with a little crown.
I mean, I guess it is a pigeon, but at first glance it looks more like a raven. There's not really a nice image for me to pull up here. Let me see if I can find a bigger one. Yeah. None of them are terribly great. Google Path of Exile Bloodguard Pigeon and you'll get a peek at it. But yeah, so that is not all the lists, by the way. There were a few more. I'm not going to review all of them here. Those were just some of the neat ones that I thought and we should take a peek at, and some that were surprising. Check out mmobomb.com for that article where we'll link you to the entire review of all of those lists, and you can take a look at how unique you are or are not. I will tell you this, Jason. You do not see many green bunnies running around in Phantasy Star Online 2.
Can I get your character as a pet?
All right, before we slide over here, we did a small update to the Culling piece, which we thoroughly bashed for very, very good reason. There wasn't
not as thoroughly as other people.
We weren't as mean as other people, although I kind of did. Watching that back, I was just like, don't fucking buy this. They did make an update to this one. So now, instead of getting 1 free match per day, after you pay $6 to buy the game, of course, you now get 10. And this comes from PC Gamer. They gave a few statements to PC Gamer, including, in retrospect, it was really obvious that 1 was not going to give us the flow of players, but you have to remember, we were kind of terrified of everybody coming back, overloading the servers, costing us a ton of money, and not spending anything. So we were afraid to turn that dial. Okay, first off, do those numbers even remotely bear out, Jason? Was there a possibility that millions, even the ones that got it free because they previously had it, plus new players that would be paying $6 a pop, so that kind of negates the whole not spending anything comment. They got to spend 6 to get there.
Yeah.
Was there a possibility that millions were coming back?
So they said that when they originally went free to play the first time, they said, quote, "We onboarded 1 million new players very quickly," unquote. According to Steam charts, it maxed out at 1,459 concurrent players in its first month of free-to-play release.
All right, and now they are talking about 2 different numbers here. They're talking about onboarding 1 million new players pretty quickly versus concurrent users at any given one time. But if you onboard, let's say, 1 million new players over, let's even say 3 months, Jason, you onboard 1 million players, I would venture a guess that you should probably have at least 1 concurrent day at more than 1,100.
1,500, but yeah, you should. You should. And even if that doesn't take like Xbox server or whatever consoles they were on into account, that's not going to be like, 1,500 on PC and 20,000 on Xbox or whatever. So I don't know where that's coming from. The million players, maybe over the course of 6 months or whatever, they got 1 million signups or something. But yeah, they didn't have anywhere near, that.
I don't know. And so, all right, let's take a look. I'm not going to give my answer yet. Q, does them changing from 1 match per day to 10 with the option to buy tokens for more matches, win tokens by winning matches, does that change your perception of this entire model that they've put together here?
No, because if I pay at all to get a game, I expect to be able to just play the game. Like, period. If they're charging me up front to get into the game, I've already paid my admission fee. I shouldn't have to pay to play it. Like, pay the freaking matches.
Oh, Q.
Individually.
Q. You and being customer centric. Jason, does this change anything for you?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't change a damn thing for me either.
What they should have done if they were really worried about that, make the game cost like $15 or $20 and then give unlimited play. That's what they should have done. That.
Yeah, just be done with it. Go ahead, Q.
Here, this whole fear of having too many players. Okay, you've done this game how many times now? You know what online game servers are like. If you think you can't handle having players on your servers, maybe just don't have an online game.
Yeah. Especially not a free-to-play one if you're worried about that aspect of it.
Right.
So, yeah, the culling model has changed. It's still poop. Moving on here. Jason, your company, man, Conqueror's Blade, your buddies over,
My.Games.
Yeah, My.Games. I almost said My.com, and I know they hate that. They hate that. That's like the #1 email I get from them anymore. Hey, can you change My.com to My.Games here? That piece is 4 years old. No,
we're not changing an old article. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're not going back to all the Sony Online Entertainment games.
Right.
Whatever, yeah.
Right. But they had a pretty damn good first quarter, too, following in the wake of Nexon's numbers and NCSoft's numbers. Everybody's up. But I think when you start looking at player base for a lot of these My.Games games, so that's why it doesn't make sense to me. My.Games games. Some of these numbers are just astounding, Jason.
First of all, I'm not sure what it is about the Russian companies, but they always want to put that in there. They always put the dot in their thing. Because remember, it was originally wargaming.net. That was the name of the company that we had referred to.
Mail.ru.
Yeah, mail.ru. Well, they still call them that. But Wargaming at least understood and said, okay, we're going to westernize this or whatever. So we'll make it so that it's just Wargaming. But yeah, just Russian companies only seem to want to do this. Or near Russian like Wargaming is. They're from Belarus. They hate being called Russian. They're from Belarus. But anyway. So yeah, Mail.ru did their financials. They actually did the financials like a month ago, but I only just got to it this last week. And they talked about how all their games in their games sector, which is of course run by My.Games, all the increased active current and daily active users, how it went up for several of their games. In Warface, now this is going to be the first time I'm going to say is concurrent users. The second number is daily active. Warface went
concurrent, daily active.
Right. So Warface went up 33% and 23%.
Wow.
Skyforge 55%.
Respectable.
Yeah, 55% and 49%.
That's stunning to me that the numbers are that big for that game. That is a grindy fucking free-to-play game if you don't want to spend any money.
And it's like 3 or 4 years old, so I mean,
yeah.
That sort of thing you'd expect that. Conqueror's Blade, 76 in concurrent users, 29 in daily active.
76%. So not picking up a whole bunch of new players. 29 is a respectable number, but compared to the other ones, not picking up a ton. But 76, the people that do have it all of a sudden are just all over it. Yeah.
Did you pick up your car yet?
It's actually being picked up today. I picked it up last night because it had to go from Nissan back to Pep Boys to get its inspection finished.
Okay. Now, one thing I'll say about Conqueror's Blade is they do their twice a week. They do their territory war thing, which is when a lot of people log in. So maybe that's why it's got the higher concurrent, that you got a lot of people logging in that town. So, and then Lost Ark, which Zach is so sad is never going to be released in the U.S. probably.
You don't think it's coming here?
They've taken this long. Who the hell knows? That is 26% and 25% current and daily active.
Wow.
But you're talking about not having new users in Conqueror's Blade. However, they said that new user registrations in Conqueror's Blade in Europe, because there's like a different server they use over there, rose 267% from February to March.
Wow. I mean, these numbers are just huge. And keep in mind, the same disclaimer we put on the Nexon and NCSoft financials applies here. Yes, this round of financials does include the beginnings of most of the lockdowns all over the world in different countries, particularly EU and countries in Europe and some of Asia who were already locking things down mid-February, right? U.S., let's say, they didn't get to it until March, mid-March or so. And these financials are January, February, March. So we haven't even really seen the financials from beginning to end quarantine. That's what we're going to see shortly here.
The percentages I gave you before this were actually from 1 month till April 15th.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit longer than that,
yeah.
But yeah.
And they released a quote. They're talking and they're very honest about this, Q. That it's the isolation. Since self-isolation gained traction globally, My.Games started to see a positive impact on engagement in terms of daily average users and concurrent users on traditional home platforms, PC and consoles. These trends could carry through Q2 depending on the duration and spread of lockdown policies. So I mean, they're not trying to be coy or say that we're doing different things and reaching new players. They're like, yeah, we understand all of you being at home probably has a big impact on this number.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when lockdown finally, comes to a real end and not the slumpy end, right, that we're trying to do right now. When it comes to the real end, how many people actually continue to play the games that they picked up while they were in lockdown? And how many non-gamers that are gaming right now because they have nothing else to do actually stick with it?
That is exactly what I wanted to ask your opinion on. So presumably at some point we won't be under, heavy lockdowns or even light lockdowns. Let's assume the best and, at some point life gets a little more normal. Someday, right? What are these companies doing now? Like, I hope they're not going into like huge hiring modes and shit like that, because the flip side of this is if you're willing to say, hey, we think these stay-at-home orders have a huge impact on why our numbers are going up, Jason, then you have to buffer and get ready for when those stay-at-home orders aren't in place, right?
I think it'll carry over a little bit. Like, you won't have necessarily, whatever 50% or whatever increased players, but you might still keep like 10 to 15% of those. So I could see having a little optimism, doing a little more hiring and so forth. But yeah, I hope they don't think this is going to be going on forever. I sure hope it doesn't go on forever.
Right. Right. Go ahead, Q.
Yeah.
It is actually funny because you talking about the hiring things. Justin sent me something so ago. CCP's hiring again.
Yeah.
Like they're hiring for a complete game apparently. But I think like you are just going to see a lot of shifts in how that stuff works, because now companies are finding out, hey, we can just let people work from home, we can do this, we can do that, we can change how all of this stuff functions.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's even reports of Facebook basically saying, all right, well, we have people, but now we'll let you work from home. The thing is, though, is what you're being paid is going to change too, because you're not required to live here anymore to work, so you can live somewhere cheaper.
Yeah.
And so some companies may do that. They may decide, hey, we can actually have more people and just pay them less because they don't live here. They live, somewhere else.
You're not in Seattle anymore. You're in Omaha.
Right.
San Francisco,
Yeah, San Francisco's a biggie too. Yeah, it's going to be something interesting to watch, and I hope some, companies are being a little cautious about this, realizing what's going on, because the last thing I want to see is the industry start doing very, very well, a bunch of people get hired, and then December, January of next year, let's assume things are a little more normal then, and now these companies have splurged so much during the feast that now they have to get rid of people during the famine. So yeah, be interesting to watch. Before we slide over here, let's talk a little bit about Crucible. Jason, I'm going to turn this over to you first. You started playing the game first the day it came out, well, the evening it came out a little bit. You and I streamed it yesterday, so we both have a few hours into it under our belts now. You don't even really need a few hours, though, I think, to make your opinion. There's 10 heroes, 3 game modes, pretty sparse daily and weekly questing system, a battle pass that, I mean, if you want any real rewards, is not optional. The free-to-play players kind of get asked out on there with stickers, decals, and a few credits. That's it as far as the battle pass goes. But let's turn it over to you and talk about your initial thoughts here before we get to the weekly bombs.
Overall, I think it's okay. I think it's decent. It has some things it can build on, but like we've talked about for a long time, and like we've kind of guessed from how it kind of suddenly got announced and then shoved out into the world, it needs more time. It's I don't know if it's technically right now in early access or considered launched or whatever, but it feels like it's a little early accessy. I mean, it plays okay. It's not like it's buggy or really slow or anything like that, but just in terms of the gameplay and the balance and little things like we said, like the like the cash shop or like the battle pass, things like not having when they said didn't have chat in it in any kind, whether it was like a emote or a voice chat or text chat. I was like, I don't know if that's so much reduced toxicity as it was to we just couldn't implement it in time. That's what I feel like on that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, there's not a mini map.
Oh yeah, the mini map. Oh god,
there isn't a mini map.
How do they not? That's like you compared it to not having friends list in Magic the Gathering Arena. Like, how do you not have a mini map, especially as big as the maps are? Like, that's something else people are complaining about a lot, and certainly you had issues with that, having to run around a lot, which I get.
Yeah,
I get that you don't want it to be, you're instantly back in the fight. Otherwise, then the fights become almost meaningless if you can get right back into them. But it's just something they got to tweak and got to figure out the right balance between making the fights have an actual end and having to spend 20 minutes running back to where you were before.
Yeah, and what's funny is, Jason, you and I both agree on this one, that we feel like Amazon kind of lost their patience with this one. Or they lost the funding. They hit the wall on what they could spend, because although they did go and put up a bunch of videos and stuff, basically the week after we kind of bashed them on the show for horrible PR, I still have not seen splash ads for Crucible on websites or trailers or YouTube commercials for Crucible in front of gaming videos. I'm just not seeing any of that. It is not classified as early access on Steam. It is just Play Crucible. It is not an early access title. There are 3 founders packs ranging from $15 to $50, getting you a number of different things in there, including the battle pass for what they're calling the preseason. Mixed reviews right now. Just shy of 5,500 reviews, and it's coming in at mixed. And Jason, I'm going to read you just a few mini sentences from some of these, the good recommended reviews and the not recommended reviews, and they just kind of fall right in line with what you and I experienced. It's a no-go for me right now, Chief. The movement feels and is incredibly slow. The abilities generally don't feel rewarding or effective unless they're mobility-based, and hit feedback is lacking. It has potential. At the moment, it feels very early access. It lacks polish and feels unfinished. Another year in dev, and it could be pretty decent. The game had its fun moments, but it feels like it went through an identity crisis and somewhat recovered and then released. It's supposed to be a full release, yet there's no good solution to even just communicate with random teams. Even on the recommended reviews, a pretty good game, but definitely has some issues right now. Things like lack of voice chat, poor optimization, and definite issues. Recommended, good concept, just needs more content and polish to stand out on its own. And this goes on and on and on, and it jives exactly with what you and I said. I played 3 different characters on the stream. The one I liked the most felt the most fucking basic Call of Duty soldier character ever. He ran with an assault rifle. One of his 3 abilities was a frickin' sprint. He was the most basic, generic soldier guy character, and he was the one I liked the most. The other two that I played were very, very unique. very unique, and I'm sure their backstories, if given to me in less than or in more than one sentence increments via audio files in the game, might be interesting. They seem like characters I would want to know, where did they come from, why did they look this way, why did they use this weapon, but I just didn't care about their style of gameplay. Granted, there's 10 heroes, I only played 3, but the more unique looking and interesting characters, gameplay-wise, were just awful for me. I did not... Generally, I'm going to be bad at a shooter to begin with. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about I was bad while playing them. We all knew that was going to happen. I'm talking about I didn't find them interesting to play or even want to get to learn their abilities even more, because some of these reviews are dead on. Nothing really felt like it had impact. And here's the weird thing. I don't hate the game.
Yeah.
I don't hate the game. I think, like a lot of these reviews, there is potential there. There is potential there. There are definitely some things that need to be changed. You need a mini-map. You need some way to chat besides just pinging the damn map, which your ping system isn't all that great either, but at least there's a ping system. Map sizes probably need to be reduced. I got caught in a lot of situations where my first death basically put me out of the entire game because the respawn was so long for me to run and get back in the action that I usually was, getting snuck up on by 2 or 3 people at once. There's not really a chance of you winning a 1v3 in this game. You are going to get gunned down in 99% of those cases. I'm really mixed about the game, which is sad because I don't think it's going to get a lot of these enhancements. I think it'll get things like a chat, a mini-map, stuff like that, but I don't know if Amazon's going to put any more money into this one as far as big overhauls of game maps and things like that, Jason.
Yeah, especially when they have New World coming out now, another 3 months, so that maybe that's going to be where they shift everything to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's going to be kind of the bellwether of it. Like, are we going to see within about 3 months if Crucible gets these changes it needs? If it doesn't, then it's dead.
Yeah.
That they're not going back to it. But
Q,
a lot of things.
Oops, sorry.
No, I was going to say. I mean, a lot of things too. We talk about the lack of marketing beforehand. It was only like on Monday, I think, like the day or two before release, that I finally read an interview with like Culling, who's their game director now, which used to work for Guild Wars 2, talking about a lot of this stuff. And it's like, why didn't you have that stuff, 2 or 3 months ago?
Yeah.
Explaining the different concepts and so forth, and getting people to know this sort of stuff so that they kind of could see it a little easier. And like you said, talking about the background of the characters, like having profile pages on the website or something like that. It's just terrible the way they marketed it, more than anything.
And as a free-to-play player, I hope you enjoy playing the game, because that's basically all you get as a free-to-play player. Yes, there are a couple skins for each of the heroes that you can just unlock from playing those heroes for substantial amounts of time and leveling them up, but that's pretty much it. The Battle Pass goes 80 levels, or 80 tiers, I should say. There are only rewards for free-to-play players up to, 36, I think?
36, I think it was,
yeah. And really, there's only 10 or 12 rewards total for free-to-play players in those 36. And it is pattern-based. You will get a decal, a banner, then 50 credits. A decal, a banner, then 50 credits. And that happens to the tune of, 15 total rewards by the end of it. Whereas the Battle Pass players, you're getting skins from Tier 1. Boom! Mm-hmm. Tier 1, here's a skin. Tier 3, here's a skin for your drop-in pod. Tier 5, here's a skin for this. Skins in the cash shop, that's one thing I will give them the credit for. The cash shop is pretty basic. They're not coming at you with a ton of boosters, at least right now. No loot boxes or anything like that. If you want a skin, you buy the skin. $5 to $15 typically. If you want emotes or shout lines, taunt lines, and stuff like that, those are all in the cash shop too. Pretty basic. Maybe a little overpriced for my taste, but I can't argue $5 to $15 is typically the going rate for most of those skins in things like Smite and stuff like that. It's just a little overpriced for my tastes. They didn't price themselves out of the market. But you really have to get the Battle Pass if you want to gain some rewards, and that's a nasty feeling. I think Destiny 2 does it better, in my opinion. Q, I know you haven't played it yet. Have you checked out videos? Were you watching some of the stream last night? I don't know. What's your experience? What are you thinking?
Oh, I mean, obviously, I'm still not watching Twitch streams right now. Not until sometime next month. I think I'll be able to do it better again. But I did look at some on YouTube. I watched a video of someone playing the raccoony looking character.
Oh my
Tosca.
god.
He hates it. Mike hates the way she runs.
I hate
that's
character.
not a run. That's like a weird ass side hop thing. But
Yeah.
it was what you were saying about the movement. The movement was just like, even as a viewer, the movement felt incredibly slow to me. And I was like, well, maybe partially because I'm used to watching like esports stuff where it uses the cam and switches between the other players. So you're not watching this one person try to do it the entire time. So, but then I also stumbled across GameSpot has a video titled "Everything You Should Know," and some of the things that you were talking about, like the difficulty level of playing certain characters or whatever, like basically according to them, there's like, I don't know, 2 characters that if you're new to the game, those are the characters you should play until you get adjusted, and there's really one mode that's the mode you should stick to until you learn how to play the game, because otherwise you're just going to fail terribly at any of the other stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I do not understand the whole lack of a mini-map thing. Like, that's just basic game. Like, any kind of game that's online, that's just basic game. I don't know how you build a game that doesn't have a mini-map.
Well, and I can understand, like, if they were going more like the Arma type, or, the DayZ mod type thing, where they wanted the realism, so you had to go look at a map. That's not what they're going for, though.
No.
They're not going for that type of hardcore, survival-esque, let's put you in there gameplay. They're going for the Overwatch crowd, the Valorant crowd, those crowds.
Overwatch doesn't have a mini map, but it's also got smaller maps.
Yeah, but I was gonna say the maps are like this big compared to what's going on in here. So
I mean, you can't imagine they wouldn't have had a beta testing session where half the people would have said we want a mini map. You know, it's like I don't know.
I don't know. It's a shame because I think there is potential there, but I also don't think that potential is going to be explored at this point. I'm somewhat dubious on Crucible's future.
Yeah, I give it about 50-50 odds.
I think so, too. Let's slide over. We should mention, you know what? We'll talk about Shadow Arena when we actually put the first look up. We'll put it on the cast next week. I will just tell you this, that I downloaded it to get ready for a first look and played it a little bit before the stream yesterday to make sure everything worked. I got booted from the game and stuff. Okay, fine. It just opened. Server issues, whatever. Then I was having XSplit issues. The only change I had made in my computer was Shadow Arena, so I uninstalled Shadow Arena just to see if that was any impact. Wasn't, but that's fine. When I reinstalled Shadow Arena, now the launcher is in Chinese, so I don't know what the hell is going on with the damn game. I downloaded it via Steam both times. Launcher was in English the first time. It's in Chinese this time. And there's no setting on there to change it, so I don't know. I'll boot it up today and see if the launcher is still in Chinese. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Let's slide over to the weekly bombs! I'll go first. Bomb to Phantasy Star Online 2 finally announcing their PC launch on Windows 10 via the Microsoft Store. Remember, that will be the only way to get it, at least for a little while. We don't have confirmation on any other release, Steam, or anything like that. It is next week, the 27th of May. That's the magic date for you PC players that have been asking in stream over and over and over again. PCO2 coming Windows 10, Microsoft Store, next Wednesday, the 27th. So get ready. Bomb. Go ahead, Jason.
I'm going to give a bomb to my stylist for giving me this fine haircut yesterday.
Oh, and your camera decided to just pixelate there. Oh.
Really?
Oh,
yeah, it did.
Although good, I thought that was all on my end.
No, there you go.
Really, yeah, it's just suddenly bad. But anyway, we're talking about the camera. The camera's bad, not the haircut. All right, just so we're clear.
Oh, I'm assuming your stylist is in the room.
Yes, just to my left here. So yeah, it's a very good job there, and I'm sure you could see it, but well, you can watch it all. Rewind, go back a few minutes and see me. So.
You look very dapper. She did an excellent job. Go ahead, Q.
I'm going to give a bomb to BBC for figuring out a way to give us a show in June where, I can actually sit and watch David Tennant do things.
Nice. All right, from the viewers, Misfit Rain, A-bomb to the Culling. For, oh my god, for, my belly hurts. Footnote, if anyone gives them money, I will hunt you down and junk punch you. Just kidding.
No. I think Misfit is totally on track there.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Jason.
High Tech says the original Culling on day one when it first released was quite enjoyable and unique despite its early access state. I agree. I watched one of the streamers I watched played a lot of it in the first few weeks or months so that it came out. And I thought it looked really cool. And I thought, hey, this looks neat.
And it's what they well, read the rest of their comment and then we can.
Okay. It's a shame it only went downhill from there. This relaunch and business model is a disgrace to the gaming industry as a whole. Not even EA could have come up with something this bad, and that's really saying something.
And they know that that's the case. Remember? I mean, the Culling, people genuinely did enjoy it. And then they changed the combat a little bit. Well, substantially, actually. And that was the beginning of the downhill. Then it disappeared. Then Culling 2 came back. That wasn't well received. Then they went back and said, all right, you guys liked the Culling before we did the combat update. So here is the Culling before the combat update, which is basically what they're doing with Origins, too. So, yeah, High Tech's absolutely right. Go ahead, Q.
Burrito PT, big A-bomb to Guild Wars 2 for ruining most of my progress and only giving me a mount for that, and a dub bomb to Final Fantasy XIV for all the free weeks they've been doing, letting my friends try the game and end up subbing to the game by the end.
Nice.
That is generally the plan with those free weeks.
Yep. Kiri's in the EU, so referencing the server outage rewards stuff. No, not happy there. Yami Kami, well, in the Culling, you can get a free game pretty easy, I think. You just need to kill the other player. Player. Singular. Question of the week last week. I've personally been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online, and an issue I saw got me to wonder what the viewers thought on this one. So, should a game's in-game cash shop mark or flag items that are available in-game for players? Like, you can get them in-game. Why or why not? And I'm not implying that anybody's going to do this. Yeah, they certainly won't. But, should they? And Sourdashi says, question of the week, in an ideal world, no. Players should take it upon themselves to be informed when making any real money in-game purchase. You're responsible for your money, and this seems like a buyer beware situation. That being said, we should be able to trust the game publishers to respect the player base enough not to deceive us. The fact that publishers feel they can get away with this is particularly slimy, and players should vote with their wallets in the first instance. They can't deceive you with their cash shop if you aren't funding their cash shop in the first place. Too long didn't read? It's slimy. Don't fall for it. Cripple them financially until they stop that shit. Some good points in there, I think. Yeah, in an ideal world, it should be relatively easy for me to say, okay, wait a minute, let me see. Is that available in-game before I go spend that? Okay, I got my answer. I'm not going to spend the money, or I'm going to spend the money. Unfortunately, we don't live in the ideal world, and Sourdashi knows that. Go ahead, Jason.
Japan's Freak says, question of the week, you are right. We should be informed if we can get the game, but the developers are too greedy and they'll want to trick you to get more money. That's even more cynical than I am, I think.
Go ahead, Q.
Ghastly, my answer this time will be shorter than usual. Yes, in my opinion, there should be, but we all know that there's no such flag in place, another sneaky way to get some money. I personally do Googling research before I spend any money, but in another hand, there are people who don't care about those plus minus $10. Or, as you said, new players who don't do simple Googling or even asking games chat.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm like, in the dilemma. And Sourdashi said it at the beginning. It's like, how much do you coddle the player and literally just, or conversely, flood the player with information when you're looking at, a cash shop or whatever, versus how much, transparency do you have in there and ease of accessibility to the information? It's a delicate balance. Baron Vagabond says, if I bought an item from a cash shop and found out it was readily available in-game, and I think that's a key word in this point, readily available in-game, I would lose all desire to play the game. The feeling of getting ripped off would just put me off the game in general. And I think that's a really valid point. And that's kind of where I was leaning, was the readily available stuff. do you need to mark that an experience scroll can also be found in-game? Probably not, but what does it hurt you to put the asterisk on there and say, can also be obtained in-game? I don't know. Go ahead, Jason.
Now I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of a lot of shooters, and I think like PlanetSide 2 comes to mind, for instance. Like if you go to their shop and you want to buy a gun, it says, spend 800 Daybreak cash or 2,000 Arexium or whatever I think the currency is in game, or the credentials or something. I forget what they're called.
Creds.
A lot of games do have that. Where
or is it creds or plat or whatever? I don't know.
No, it's commendations or something, I think. I don't remember. But yeah, so a lot of games, shooters, I think games that have a kind of a minimal inventory, sort of like that, I think have that. But you're right, a lot of MMORPGs don't tend to have that. So
yeah.
Ninja Panda says, question of the week. Yes, I do believe there should be an icon letting the player know they can obtain said specific item in the game, e.g. cure for vampire or werewolf, which has been in the store for ages if players want to find the cure. If players want to find the cure, players will find it, so they don't need to move it to recommend section and should just sell stuff as useful or not available, like items or mounts. Or at least Final Fantasy XIV has got it right so far.
Yeah, and I mean, we can argue all day whether a subscription-based game should contain a cash shop at all. That's a totally different discussion. But if you're comparing the two, Final Fantasy's is mounts, minions, dyes, and costuming. Whether or not you agree with that shop being there or not is a totally different debate. Go ahead, Q.
Squeezy, I don't think that placing a warning that X item can be attained through grinding is that important in general. First of all, when you don't know where to get an item, the first thing you do is not to just open the cash shop, but to ask other players, either your friends or guildmates or even on world channels. If on the off chance that you're a loner and don't like to interact with others, you'll probably Google it or look at the forums. Someone that directly opens the cash shop to search for an item probably isn't someone that cares if it can be obtained in game or not. They just want to get it done with ASAP.
Squeezy, that's a perfect point. The only counterpoint that I would make is in this particular circumstance that we were talking about, the vampire werewolf cure being in the cash shop for Elder Scrolls Online. It has been in the cash shop for a very long time. The reason that it came to more of a why are you doing this situation is when you log into the game, just like most other games that have a cash shop, you get some type of splash advertisement showing you that there is a cash shop and featured items, and it was in the featured item. So this would have not been somebody that, to your point, generally would go, oh, let me go see if there's a cure for vampirism in the cash shop, when you can spend 200 gold in-game and get it taken care of, and 200 gold is nothing. It is nothing. You can find crap after 2 quests to get 200 gold. Where as soon as they logged up, the featured items came up, and it is right there, so it felt a little slimy to a lot of us Elder Scrolls players. To finish this...
We're talking about... No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jason.
I'll say I agree. I think if you're looking for something specific, you're going to just research or whatever. But if you just happen to look and open the cash shop and it says, oh, here's a cool piece of armor or whatever, but that's the sort of thing where I think it could be a little iffy.
Yeah, and this one's particularly iffy because there's a lot of vampire changes coming in Greymoor, where a lot of people that are currently vampires may not want to be vampires anymore in Elder Scrolls. And that is common knowledge if you've been playing Elder Scrolls and you're searching, hey, you're ready for Greymoor, you've been watching all the Greymoor stuff. That comes out this month, next week for PC, and the following week, the 9th, for consoles. So then this item, being maybe something a lot of people were going to be looking for, all of a sudden becoming a featured item in the game shop, felt really fucking slimy. Effexon says, question of the week, the item should not be for sale if you can get it in-game. But if it is, I believe it should be marked. So... pretty much everybody on the same front there. Yeah, maybe, but it's not going to happen. With a little bit of buyer beware, please use fucking Google mixed in. Question of the week this week. Obviously, I've got to know. Will you be playing Phantasy Star Online 2 on PC next week now that it is releasing with crossplay and cross-save? Why or why not? letting us know in the comments below. While you're there, make sure you give us your weekly bombs, D bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming, or just your thoughts on anything we talked about this week. And if you're bored, Monday through Friday, we stream on twitch.tv/MMOBomb every Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, some free-to-play game. I'll be doing some games early next week. Jason's going to take Wednesday. We'll finish it up late. The games will rotate, and we do take viewer recommendations if you want to see something in particular. But until then, Q, where can everybody find you?
Hanging out on Twitter at Quinlan.
Jason?
Find me on Twitter and Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne, aka magicman. You can follow me right there at magicman1 on Twitter. But more importantly, please follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet at you all the latest news, articles, giveaways, and so much more. If you want to watch me personally streaming, you can do that, twitch.tv/magicman. Until next time, gang, stay safe, and we'll see you out on the servers.